Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Mail. So I know I said I wasn't going to do any more Christmas videos on my channel until November. We might have a change of plans. I was cleaning out my Christmas stuff today, trying to figure out what my plan was going to be for November to finish up the last 35 cards that I have to make. And I came across some random bags that had some random pieces in them. And I must have had a plan in mind because I matched up pattern paper with cardstock and sentiment things, but there wasn't actually a plan in with these. Normally when I do this kind of stuff, I'll put a card sketch or some notes in or something with it so that I know what I was going to do. There's nothing with this. It was all just in a plastic container, a plastic bag. These are pattern paper that I made using the Forever Fern set by Stampin' Up. And I remember doing these. It was several years ago that I did these. And I must have used them for something that I don't remember at this point what it was. But I have several of them left. So I thought, since I have it here and the colors all match, maybe we'll go ahead and do something with this. So I went ahead and I looked through my my Operation Right Home binder. Yes, I have a binder. This is the binder. And this has a few hundred of the Operation Right Home sketches in it. I refer to this often to make cards, and it's a beautiful resource. So I went through this and looked at the scraps that I had and the sizes that they were, and thought maybe this one would be a good one to use. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get, I don't know, 3 or 4 cards out of this. Hopefully I can use a good bit of this, and the rest of it will just go back in the plastic bag, I guess. I don't really want to put it back in the plastic bag, but I don't know how many cards like this one that I want. So let's go ahead and get started. So of the green paper, it looks like I have a couple of random scraps, and then I have 2 that have stitched borders on them, which is nice because they can be background papers for this. Let me see if they are card base size. Okay, and they are full card base size, so that's 2 cards right there. That's awesome. Okay, and then the cream strips, cream pieces, it's just blocks and stripes, and we've got various shades of the cream going here. The red, I've got 3 pieces that are just scraps, and I've got 2 that have borders on them, the stitched borders on them. So again, apparently I was planning something. I was planning 4 cards, apparently, because I've got, it makes sense because I've got 4, and I've got 4 sentiments, and then I've got these extra ones that maybe they weren't supposed to be in this bag. I don't know. But, yeah, and then I've got the pattern paper to use. So let's go ahead and figure out some cards. So let me set some of this stuff aside to get it out of the way. Okay, and if this is our sketch, and the background is red, maybe we're gonna do the strip down the front of it in cream, and I guess that can be in a couple of different shades of cream. Oh, these are textured too, that's nice. Okay, and then we've got a square block, so I could maybe cut one of these down. I'm probably gonna want a different kind of matting around these just to make them stand out a little better. Yeah, we are truly creating on the fly here. Okay, so this strip is 1.5 by 4 1/4. Okay, so I have this piece, and I will trim this after I adhere it down. I'll just trim it even with this, with the base. Okay, and then this piece that we're going to make the pattern paper is 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. Okay, so this one can be trimmed down. So let me trim this one down. Okay, so there's that piece. So this one goes behind this one. And like that. That's kind of plain. I think I'm going to mat this maybe in some gold. Just give it a fine little gold border around it. Just to jazz it up a little bit. And then this piece, have yourself a merry little Christmas, or may your holidays sparkle with joy and happiness. We'll use this one. And what if we mounted this in red? But then this strip looks kind of plain, doesn't it? What about if we bordered that with some green? Now, is that too much? What do you think? Okay, I'm gonna cut this piece and I'm gonna cut this piece and I'll be back. So if we mat our pattern paper in the gold, and then we mat the cream strip in the green, this still looks really plain. Although we could make it a vertical card. That's a little better, and then we can put some enamel dots on it. So let's go ahead and finish this. So I'm going to trim this piece down. Well, you know what? Let's adhere this together, and then I'll trim those two pieces down. Okay, and I think before we adhere this down, I pulled out a couple little boxes that I have some Christmassy things in. So I think we'll go through these and see if we have something else that maybe we can put with this. Some little poinsettias. See what else we have in here. Got some red snowflakes. Doesn't quite go with the theme. Now we could do that. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm going to keep these out because we might use them on one of the others. we'll grab some dimensionals to pop up the poinsettia. About just like that. Okay, so that's pretty decent for just being scraps. So let's see if we can figure out something different to do with some of the other pieces. Okay, and I think let's go ahead and do one of the green ones. Okay. What if maybe we did, oh, another piece of this. And this again is 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. Well, actually that was, yeah, that was the centerpiece. But you know what? I think we're gonna make this one a little bigger. And I'm just gonna eyeball this. And yes, I truly do use scrap paper. So roughly there and roughly there. Okay, that's pretty decent. What if we did this strip in gold? So 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I cut it short. So let's try that again. Yeah, we'll just wait till we adhere it and then we'll cut it just to be sure it's the right size. Maybe we'll mat this one in the cream color. What about if we matted it in gold and then the cream color? Is that going to be too much gold? See what else we can find in here. Well, that's pretty, but it's too small for that. Oh, here's some vintage looking things. Maybe we do a different tag, although the point was to use up what was here. But being that I've got other vintagey looking things in here, maybe we make this a tag on here instead. And I really kind of like that orientation of the other one. But maybe we go this direction this time. So many options. Let's see what we got in this one. Oh, all kinds of fancy tags. I don't really want to fussy cut around that one though. Naughty. Well, you know, that could work. And this is what happens when I start pulling out all the Christmas stuff. I've still got 3 of these that I can put back into the other vintagey ones, but really I was trying to use up these. But I really kind of like this too. So let's do this. So we'll just call this a fail, because I didn't do what I intended, what I set out to do. But it'll be another Christmas card made. And that's really the whole point, right? To get the Christmas cards made. And this is a piece of chipboard. Both this one and the Believe are chipboard pieces. And I believe these are left over from my scrapbooking days. Actually, we need to put this down first. That one to go about right there. So this one goes about right here. And I'll trim that off in a second. Put this piece down here. And then we'll glue this piece down. And that is card number 2. Again, not exactly what we had planned because I still have some of my scrap pieces left over, but I did use some of the scrap pieces. So kind of a half fail, I guess. So let's figure out a third card. So I have a red and a green base left. And again, I think I'll just eyeball this one to measure it up. Okay, and then I'm thinking on this one, I'll make this strip in green, but then I'm also going to mat a piece of gold on top of that green, or use the green too as the mat for the gold. And then I'm thinking that we will mat the sentiment block in the cream and the red. Okay, so this is basically what I have at this point. Now I'm eyeing up these, and I'm wondering if maybe I should put these on here, or maybe put them on here. Kind of like that, but it kind of takes away from this. Maybe we just put one. I don't know, this thing being landscape format, try it this way. And it's perfectly okay to do this with your card sketches. You can change the orientation of them as you wish. I just feel like this needs to be anchored for some reason. So maybe we do that with one down here. I don't want to go digging in the boxes again, because then I'll stray from what I'm trying to use up here. Maybe put a cream strip across here to mount this on. Actually, that we're just going to trim that piece off, so I need to go this direction. That could work. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Sometimes it takes a little bit of playing to get the layout to look right and to look balanced. Sketches are a great starting point, and then you can figure out what you want to do after that. You don't always have to stick to the sketch, obviously, but they do give you a good starting point. I think it's a lot of fun to make your own pattern paper, which is exactly what I did with these. If you have Christmas stamp sets, say you're doing Christmas cards, pull out your Christmas stamp sets, see if you can make your own background paper. How about we pop this one up with some dimensionals? And that is card number 3. Okay, well, we're getting down there with the scraps. I've got one left with the base. I've still got a whole bunch of cream, but I knew I wasn't going to use all of the cream paper this time. I've got one piece of red that's a good size. I've still got some gold to use, and I knew I wouldn't get through all the gold paper this time. And I've got 2 sentiments out here. So we can at least get another card. And I knew I wasn't going to get all of this used either, but we're getting rid of a good bit of it. So this is card number 3. All right, we got one more card to do. Let's see if we can come up with one more card design to finish this off. So we got a green base. And I'm thinking, we did the strips on these ones all in solids and then the glitter. And I'm thinking we're going to use maybe the background paper to do that part. Well, that's cute. Gingerbread man. So maybe if we use that, and do we want to go glitter behind it? What about if we back this with some green? And I was thinking about mounting this one on gold, and that will blend in with that too much. So let's not do that. I think these are all about the same. This one has texture to it, which is nice. So maybe if we do a little bit of that, trim that down, and put that there. Okay, let me do some trimming to some pieces and then we'll come back and assemble. All right, so let's go ahead and put these pieces together. That's a little bit crooked, but it'll be okay. Should we add some of these? Or, you know, I think I'm going to finish all these off with some enamel dots. So let me clean this up and then we'll come back and finish them. Okay, so these are the cards that we have, all 4 of them. And it's funny how the card sketch was horizontal and 3 of these ended up being vertical. But I think it works. So now I'm going to pull out some homemade enamel dots. Oops, there's a loose one. These are made with Nuvo drops. And we're going to just put some of these randomly on the cards. And then we're going to call them done. So let's start with this one. And my dot placement is just going to be super random. So while I was filming that last part of actually putting the enamel dots on these, I got an error on my phone and it stopped recording and I don't have the footage. But not a big deal because here are the final cards. And these are with the enamel dots and these are finished. This was the first one that we did. And then the second one, the third one, and the last one. So I hope you enjoyed watching these come together from an envelope full of scraps and a couple extra little pieces. And I can tell you that I did come across a couple other little bags that had just random pieces in them. They don't have a plan with them. I'm going to figure out a plan, so there's probably going to be a couple more of these midweek videos coming. So watch for those. And that's what I have for you today. So it's time for you to go make some cards. And I will see you in the next video.